This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more, MOR, with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Guys, I've got something cool to tell you about. As an engineering leader, a manager, and an engineer myself, I'm geeking out over a new product I'm just discovering that helps me with each of these points of view. The great team at SEMA, builders of the SEMA Intelligence Platform, have been working on what they call the Product Roadmap Radar. It's this integrated solution that uses generative AI to observe your code and Jira in order to summarize, synthesize, and make it easier to deliver your roadmap. It not only helps keep your roadmap on track, but it helps reduce the time engineers spend in meetings. Cue all the engineers clapping. The Product Roadmap Radar is extremely easy to set up. This only takes about 5 minutes. Just enable your integrations and let AI do all the mapping for you. My favorite part? I'm glad you asked. The radar doesn't just tell you about your roadmap. It suggests changes you need to make based on the code that's been written and the stories that have been addressed. No commenting, no special setup, all generative AI. It gives you an outside view of your roadmap based on the code and projects a target completion date based on outstanding work and activity. Again, no comments, no special setup. It even detects shadow work when development is being done but Jira isn't being updated. I'm pretty jazzed about it, and I think you will be too. Take a second to watch a short but awesome demo video. Go to codestory.co/PRR to watch it today. You'll like what you see. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com.
Many times when somebody's creating a product, they're creating a product for some other persona, somebody else to use it. And I don't know how people do that. And God bless them for doing that, because you're trying to figure out what some other expert in an industry and how they're going to use the product you're building. And you may not exactly be from that industry or understand their mindset. Luckily for us, we are industry practitioners in this space, meaning everybody here at the Newburgh founding team, we have been in the IT ops roles. So we understand the requirements. We understand how somebody would use this. We understand how somebody would go about solving this problem. So for us to build out the MVP was fairly easy. My name is Goutham Rao. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Newburgh.ai.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
Took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their
A
back.
company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
to ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today, how Goutham Rao has built autonomous real-time incident response with Agentic AI SRE. Goutham Rao grew up in Brooklyn, a nerd all his life. Back in the day, his dad bought him a Commodore 64, from which he started to learn to write code in BASIC. Eventually, he attended the University of Pennsylvania to get his master's in computer science. But outside of tech, he's married with 2 kids. He likes to travel and he likes to run. He used to compete in half marathons, but nowadays he does his running as more of a mental exercise. Goutham saw that IT telemetry logs have a lot of complexity within their data. Fast forward to today, he and his co-founders noticed the way that LLMs were processing data. They thought they could build something to interpret this information and clone themselves to create something that mimics issue triage. This is the creation story of Newbird.
Myself, my co-founder Vinod, and both of us, we grew up around the same time frame. Not that we knew each other back then in graduate school, but we both share a passion for AI and especially data science in our careers. And we've worked together for, 15 plus years now. We've always been involved with enterprise data, and enterprise data is very tricky to handle, leaving aside the governance and all of the regulatory aspects. But just the nature of the data is very complex, as you can imagine, and it's very varied. And as it relates to IT telemetry, which will be relevant for the rest of this conversation today, IT telemetry involves very complex data structures that exist within your logs. These are telemetry that are being displayed from application and physical infrastructure. So your application logs, your server logs, your network logs, your database logs, and so on. These are very complex. And so the logs are one thing. And then you have time series data, which are called metrics, CPU samples on a millisecond by millisecond basis, for instance, your network throughput. And then you have complex traces of what application is talking to what infrastructure. Anyway, short of this long story is there's a lot of complexity in the data. And we have a good appreciation for that because in creating enterprise software in our careers, we've had to deal with all of this complex data to be able to troubleshoot, create better software. And so we've studied it. We are domain experts in that field. All right, what does that have to do with AI? Fast forward to today, everybody's familiar with ChatGPT, Gen AI, and LLMs. We saw a way in which these LLMs were thinking that we thought, hey, if we know how to interpret data correctly, can we use the knowledge that exists in these large language models to mimic what you and I do, what we do as engineers, to be able to troubleshoot and remediate and find issues. And that's what we've built. That was the genesis behind Newbird.ai, which is, we said, we've spent way too much time debugging issues at 2 a.m, and we don't want to do that anymore. Can we clone ourselves? Can we create a persona that does the job we would do and has the same intelligence in triaging and debugging a problem like we would do? And let's go in and create that. So back in 23, Oda and I started this project privately. We were working on seeing how we could clone ourselves and create something that mimics what we do. We created ways in which we could interface with these large language models and extract the reasoning capabilities that exist in them. We invented this thing for IT telemetry using something called a chain of thought reasoning, which basically iteratively talks to itself and figures out what's going on in the environment. That led to what today is known as agentic systems. So coming to your first part of the question, that's what does Newbird.ai do? We create an agent, which is called an SRE, Site Reliability Engineer. It's an agent that is responsible for managing the health of your IT operations using what we've built.
Let's dive into what you would consider the MVP for Newbird, that first version of the product and the platform you built. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
Let me just walk you through how our journey and where we are now and how we got here. Many times when somebody's creating a product, they're creating a product for some other persona, somebody else to use it. And I don't know how people do that. God bless them for doing that, because you're trying to figure out what some other expert in an industry and how they're going to use the product you're building. And you may not exactly be from that industry or understand their mindset. Luckily for us, we are industry practitioners in this space, meaning everybody here at the Newburgh founding team, we have been in the IT ops roles. So we understand the requirements. We understand how somebody would use this. We understand how somebody would go about solving this problem. So for us to build out the MVP was fairly easy. We know what problems we're solving for because we've been in that boat. To everybody else that is struggling with IT ops, they're not that different from what I've done in the past. So I understand the MVP, which is, I'll describe what that is. These are people that are managing production operations, whether it's a website or let's take a financial institution, a credit card payment processing pipeline. You could take a generic engineering organization, could be a CI/CD pipeline. You could take a motor company, which is software that's managing the manufacturing and analyzing smart car test runs, for instance. So any of these pipelines have a general similar look and feel. These are microservices. In many cases, they use Kubernetes as the application control plane. You have networking ingress layers, and you have varied data services that you rely on, whether it's databases, object stores, message queues. These are common components. And so we're solving for something that we understand, the basic building blocks that everybody uses. Now, in terms of the MVP, who we're going after are people that are responsible for managing these pipelines. Again, these are IT ops managers. These are SRE managers. These are people that carry the PagerDuty alerts. They're responsible for if something goes wrong, there's an alert, an application crash, these trigger an alert. The alerts get routed to an engineer who has to respond to it. Maybe they get a Slack message with an alert description. Then they have to go log into the system, look at the logs, look at the telemetry, look at the metrics, probe different areas in the stack. This has now taken many hours. You can't expect any one engineer to be an expert in all fields. So the person responding to the issue will say, maybe I need to get a network expert on the line. You get the network expert. Network expert may say, hey, I see some database errors. Let's go get the database expert. And so now you're pulling in a community here to solve this. That's our MVP. We go after those teams and say, we can make your life easier. We will deploy these LLMs, which are presumably experts in networking and Kubernetes and analyzing traces and data services, and let it do the dirty work of looking at your telemetry and reduce your time to incident response.
This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more MOR and DIY less with Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Guys, I've got something cool to tell you about. As an engineering leader, a manager, and an engineer myself, I'm geeking out over a new product I'm just discovering that helps me with each of these points of view. The great team at SEMA, builders of the SEMA intelligence platform, have been working on what they call the Product Roadmap Radar. It's this integrated solution that uses generative AI to observe your code and Jira in order to summarize, synthesize, and make it easier to deliver your roadmap. It not only helps keep your roadmap on track, but it helps reduce the time engineers spend in meetings. Cue all the engineers clapping. The Product Roadmap Radar is extremely easy to set up. This only takes about 5 minutes. Just enable your integrations and let AI do all the mapping for you. My favorite part? I'm glad you asked. The radar doesn't just tell you about your roadmap. It suggests changes you need to make based on the code that's been written and the stories that have been addressed. No commenting, no special setup, all generative AI. It gives you an outside view of your roadmap based on the code and projects a target completion date based on outstanding work and activity. Again, no comments, no special setup. It even detects shadow work when development is being done but Jira isn't being updated. I'm pretty jazzed about it, and I think you will be too. Take a second to watch a short but awesome demo video. Go to codestory.co/PRR to watch it today. You'll like what you see. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more MOR and DIY less with Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. So that MVP makes sense to me. And from that point, I'm curious about how you progressed and matured the product. And to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is how you built your roadmap, how you went about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Newberg.
Now, let's break that into 3 separate talking points then, if you wouldn't mind. The past, the present, and the future. The roadmap being the future. Now, I'll walk you through the past, our journey from inception to so far. I'm a firm believer in building alongside what we call co-development partners. Your early customers are not customers. They're your partners in crime. They're people that resonate with the pain point you depict. And they want to see you build a product because it's going to help them. They want to help you build a product. They want to provide feedback. They want to be early users, and they want to deal with a product that is, let's just call it, half-baked. And we're fortunate enough to have worked in the enterprise industry that we know some awesome companies of various sizes in financial and manufacturing and retail and pharmaceutical that we called on and said, hey, Mr. Smith, you used our product in the past. We had a great relationship together. These are fans of our prior products. The company that Vinod and I came from is called Portworx, which is still the leader in the enterprise data space for cloud-native applications, wildly successful product. So we called on our prior customers and said, we have this idea, this concept. Does it resonate? Obviously it does. Who doesn't have this IT ops problem? And we said, here's what we're building. Will you help build this with us? And yep, but sure enough, we signed up a few of these e-design partners. We gave them beta versions of our agent is called Hawkeye, by the way. So if I say the term Hawkeye, that's the agent, our IT ops agent that we built here at Newberg.ai. So we gave them beta versions of Hawkeye. It was slow because it had to do a lot of thinking, and people had to nudge it a bit, people being end users. Generally did a good enough job, but we identified areas for where we need to improve. And now as we go on, the beta process took 3, 4, 5 months. We learned from them. We made Hawkeye smarter. We identified what's more critical for the ops teams. What did they want to see first? How do people interact with agents? And this was a learning for us. This part now, and I'm going through the journey really quick here, and this is leading all the way up to our GA, which was sometime around December last year. We realized that agentic systems are pretty new. Who would have thought? This kind of coined the term, and it hit us later that people take time to adapt to new technologies. And it was difficult for people to wrap their heads around how to interface with Hawkeye because it is an agentic system. It's a new way for them to change their way of operations. And so we said quickly, no, let's not change their workflow. Let's have Hawkeye adapt to their workflow. So we made our agent a lot more behind the scenes. And we call it now an agentic backplane that inserts into their existing ITSM, their IT service management tools and workflows, and silently does the work for them. And so now, post-GA, what does a typical interaction with a customer look? We call on the manager or the director that is responsible for operations. We show them Hawkeye. They like it. We deploy Hawkeye. We tell them, don't tell anybody that you've deployed it. Let's just see how things pan out. Hawkeye starts doing its work in the back. Their teams are getting these PagerDuty alerts. And all of a sudden, within minutes, Hawkeye says, I'm on it. And a couple of minutes later, it creates what's called this root cause analysis report, which contains detailed information about the incident, the evidence, what the issue is, and what the remediation is. And then the engineers are looking at it going, wow, what is this? And now I just have to review it. I don't have to do all the dirty work. We call back on the engineering manager and say, hey, how has it been? It's been 2 weeks. Ideally, we get, look, all my engineers are so much more happier. They're saying that their quality of life is better. They're not getting alert fatigue. They've gotten all this time back so that they can focus on more creative tasks. That's what we're engineering toward. That's the present. That's where we are today. Work is not done. If it were, I'd be retired. So we have still a lot to do ahead of us. And this is the roadmap part. The roadmap is interestingly evolving because agentic solutions are a new concept. And so not just Newbird, but everybody's trying to figure out how do agents coexist with other agents? What are inner agent workflows? What's the handoff of work from one agent to another? How do you determine the accuracy of the work? What's the governance around these agents? And then ultimately, how do these agents interface with their human counterparts? Do they have a certain personality? Do they adapt the personality? We have to figure these things out over the course of the next maybe 1+ even longer periods of time in terms of years.
I hear you saying we in the past, present, future explanation there. Tell me about how you built your team. And I'm curious about what you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you.
Look, I've been fortunate enough that over the past, I don't know how many ever years of my career, 30, let's just say 30, I've been in the Valley that long, worked with a lot of great people. So I know in our domain who to call on. The people that we work with here at Newbird, a lot of them are people that I worked with in the past. And we have, luckily, the new people, we've been able to attract top-notch talent because I think the problem we're solving is so interesting. People also have an element of trust in us. We raised money from the top VCs in the Valley, actually in the world. Mayfield was an investor in my last company, Portworx, and is an investor in us now. And Naveen Chadda, who's the managing director at Mayfield, is on our board. He's one of the smartest people I know. 2 seconds and he gets the problem statement. An iconic VC, an investor in iconic companies. And so that adds a lot of clout to Newbird, attracts a lot of talent. And we've been able to raise additional funds from Microsoft, for instance, halfway through our journey. Microsoft got interested in what we're doing. We had customers that were using Hawkeye on Microsoft Cloud, on Azure, high-profile customers, big logos. And so Microsoft, being one of the leaders in the AI space, said, look, IT ops is our core area of interest, and so is AI. And we like what you're doing at Newbird, and how about we also invest in you? And so they increased our funding to a healthy amount, somewhere around $44 million. I'm not saying that this is what it takes to build a team. This certainly helped us, right? Having top-tier VCs, having the cash we need, but also having a starting team at Newbird that's done it before and has a track record, clearly understands this space. So we assembled an initial team of around, I would say, 6 or 7 people as we were building out the core product. Our Justin, who's our product manager, is a key part of this team, comes from the observability space, really understands the product requirements very well and is very articulate and is able to detail out the details of what he wants to have built. It helps that the team has fun working together. We're an in-office culture. We make it a point to build a very good cultural experience, so to speak, around Newbird. We work in downtown Redwood City, which for your audience is in the middle of the Silicon Valley, and where we are some of the better restaurants in the Bay Area, right there, all clustered around our office. We got this fun building, one of the oldest buildings in Redwood City. The roof opens up. In any event, I'm just trying to say that it's fun going into work, and people like each other and they've worked with each other in the past. A lot of the folks that we work with have worked in one way, shape, or form with each other before, so they have that history. We are now a company of 30 people. Our go-to-market team came on board early this year. Again, people that I've worked with, Paul, who leads our go-to-market, for instance, or Patrick, who leads our business dev, or Francois, our field CTO out east. These are all people I work with, really understand this space very well. And it helps where you don't have to overly communicate with people because you understand each other's expectations, body language. These things are things you learn over time. So communication is super efficient, and we know what we need to do, and we just get that thing done.
This episode is brought to you by Propel. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use Propel Auth. Propel Auth is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, Propel Auth adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with Propel Auth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's propelauth.com. This episode is sponsored by MailySearch. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need MailySearch. MailySearch has lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. MailySearch utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, MailySearch delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to MailySearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. Okay, so let's flip to scalability, and this will be interesting. Given you're serving enterprises, I'm curious about how you approach scalability, and if there's been any interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
There are two aspects to this. Enterprise data has always been the Achilles heel of an enterprise. There's just too much data. And what too much data does is it causes too much noise. And noise is not good for AI. LLMs will always create an answer. They'll always come up with something. And the whole point here is context. So when it comes to scale, one of the key problems that we've had to solve algorithmically and scientifically is you are sitting on a sea of data, and all of that is largely useless for the issue at hand, for the incident at hand that you're dealing with. You have these LLMs that have this rich information in them, this complex reasoning capabilities, but they're useless if you're not going to give it the right information. I give an analogy where you could go to the best doctor on the planet, and if you're vague about your symptoms or you mislead, that doctor is useless. You're not going to get a good result. But if you're very surgical in explaining, this exactly hurts here, exactly when I do this at this time, you get a higher quality result. And so that there is context. And so we've had to solve that problem of sitting on a massive amount of data, going back to your scale question, and how do you surgically extract exactly what could be relevant for this issue so that the LLMs can do the right job. That's some of our secret sauce in how we do that. That's a mathematical problem. It's an algorithmic problem. It's a data structure problem. And we've spent most of our time solving exactly that problem. At Newbert.ai, more than anything, we are a data science company. While we are an AI company, we know how to make the AI work because we know how to extract the right data by solving that data science problem when understanding that IT telemetry is vast. Since we're an inference platform, that's what an agent is. It's doing the inference. We don't have to store any data. So luckily for us, this is not a storage problem. I've solved that problem in the past at Portworx. That's not a fun problem to solve because you're dealing with the scale of how do you store massive amounts of terabytes and how do you access that data quickly. Luckily, we work with the people that have solved that, which are these observability platforms like a Datadog or Splunk or Sysdig, or just even object stores, raw telemetry like Prometheus. And so we leverage existing observability platforms. So storing massive amounts of data is not a scale issue we've had to solve for. And then the third degree here is to the scale problem. And for us really is, look, GPUs are limited. So how many incidents can you handle simultaneously? That ultimately becomes our problem because that adds to time. If a company is getting thousands of alerts in an hour, how do you efficiently go through those? So we had to deploy AI to do things like incident grouping, deduplication, correlation, causality analysis before we actually go do the inference. That's been another very hard problem for us to solve. That's, again, another data science problem. And how do you break down a barrage of issues that are coming in and distill it down to a few core set of issues that you can focus on? That's a very hard problem. And that alone has its own roadmap of how we solve that. But that's been a big pillar for us that we've had to take down.
So as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far with Newbert, what are you most proud of?
I'm really proud of a couple of things. I'm proud of the team and the team that has built Hawkeye so far. I'm really proud of Hawkeye. There are times where Vinod and we're constantly testing this because, first of all, we're like two kids in a candy store with Hawkeye because we've seen all of these problems that we'd had to solve ourselves. So I'm really proud when I see Hawkeye solve a problem and that we pose it. And we're like, wow, because the whole point behind Gen AI is you're leveraging the cognitive aspect of these LLMs. So what I mean by that is the outcome is not predictable. You're hoping for a certain type of thought process, but every time Hawkeye thinks, it is applying, deep in its neural networks. Information that it's pulling out is from varied sources of its training that we wouldn't know. We know that it's seen all of these things and been trained by people building these foundational models by training it on massive amounts of data sets that are out there in the public. But we don't know what those are, and we wouldn't know that somebody else had seen something like this before. And so when Hawkeye pulls that out of its brain and says, I'm going to solve it this way, and it just blows our mind. And we're like, you expect it, but you don't, when you see it, it's a different experience. And that feeling that you get is something else. And so I'm really proud of that. And if I had to pick two things, I would say those two.
Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
Mistakes are, if they're not binary, unfortunately, it's a sliding scale. You have to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're doing something wrong. And you make the mistakes sometimes purposely to even learn and find out what the push buttons are, or what the no, you can't, that definitely don't do that kind of things are. You have to test those boundaries, and you do bold things, you're going to make mistakes. You can get very ambitious in our domain in saying we're going to solve for all types of IT telemetry. Well, do you really need to solve all possible use cases? Because the domain is so vast. You don't have to solve, for instance, edge networking use cases. IT ops is big enough where just around core infrastructure ops alone, there are so many different use cases there. So focus on that. And so early on, we said, hey, do we solve for this? Tried a few things. While we could, it would be its own rabbit hole we're going to go down. And so while I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake, it's something you test and say, okay, we'll defer that, come back to that later. Another one, do you necessarily only have users interface with the agent? And I don't think that's right. So we quickly learned that, well, that's very interesting and necessary that having that as the only interface is wrong. And so we corrected that, and we now mostly sit autonomously and asynchronously resolve issues in the background. and letting people don't be front and center in their face that you're an agent. Just do things in the back and let people understand the benefits of silent AI. So on a daily basis, we're always making mistakes and learning from it. And I don't think it's something to be scared about. But what I want to say is the point behind making mistakes, though, you have to know is you have to be able to recover fast, undo, course correct, micro pivot, and move on. So as long as you can be that agile, mistakes are a necessary part of building something.
Okay, this will be interesting. What does the future look like? For Newbird, for the product and for your team? What are you dreaming about?
Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball, but you engineer toward, where you want to be headed. You paint a picture of this is what you would like. And for us, that obviously is to be the leader in the agentic SRE space. We are today by far in terms of customer engagements, in terms of the quality of results and the accuracy of the agent. In the future, as this goes on, what we want to see is just that Hawkeye is a household name, at least in the IT portion of enterprises, that every enterprise out there has a team of Hawkeyes working as part of the IT ops workforce that dealing with noisy PagerDuty alerts, or this is a fact, you go into any enterprise and say how many open tickets you have, and it's in the thousands. And those things are no longer the case in the very not so distant future. I think it'll take a year and a half for us to start cracking that, but it'll be many years before anybody actually gets to claim the household name status.
Okay, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
Oh, there are many different influences I have when it comes to focus on that relentless focus on end user experience. No, I'm very opinionated in how this is going to be built. You guess who that is. You can't not look at Steve Jobs and what he's done. So I'm very driven by that and all the products that we've built in, especially as it relates to Hawkeye, which is an agent, which is the shiny new thing that people are going to be interfacing with. So I'm very focused on its UX. As it relates to work ethics, there are a number of people that come to mind, even in the non-tech space. I can name people in music, but I don't know that everybody knows some of the folks I'd cite. But just to focus on getting the quality of the chords right and just focusing on relentlessly just that, you can just tell what their work ethic is like. I have a lot of personal friends that your audience wouldn't know that I draw inspiration from.
Last question. So you're getting on a plane, and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
My advice would be, or it's not an advice necessarily, I would just say what I'm scared of. As look, first of all, even though you've done this before, you're always in that boat again. It's back to square one when you start a new company. It's your past experience is just in your experience, but that doesn't give you the right for success at all. It's for you as an entrepreneur to draw from it to say, I'm going to take on that experience, but you're starting from scratch again. So that person on that plane you're talking about that's built the next best thing is me. So it's the question you're asking me, I would say, what advice would I give myself? And knowing what I know now, I would say, look, if you believe you've built the next best thing, be paranoid because somebody else is building that. And you're not the only one with that idea. So then what you have to do is get out there quickly in front of customers and make that next best thing even better, because it's never the best thing. It will only be better over time. So don't sit back and say, this is it. And to do that, you need to find customers that are using it and giving you feedback and making it better. And then just outmaneuver everybody else. Be an athlete, go fast, go wide, get as many runs on the board as possible very quickly. There's somebody right behind you. So don't even look in the rearview mirror because there are a lot of people behind you. Just keep running like you have a pack of zombies running behind you, and don't tire. And just let the whole world know what you're doing. Be loud about it. Be proud about it.
That's fantastic advice. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Newbird.
Thank you, Noah.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Your business is one of a kind, so your website should be too. With Wix, it's easy, almost too easy, to create a website that's perfectly yours. Just tell AI what kind of site you want to build, or choose from thousands of templates. Change whatever you want, whenever you want, and get everything you need to start running your business your way. No matter what you sell or what you aspire to be, you can do it all, yourself, on Wix.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.